Hello everyone and welcome back to Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series on YouTube where we put a man up against a machine and see which is better at fantasy football, as we put the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm team up against my own human-made free hit team every week of the season. If you've been following along with the series, in Game Week 10, I actually beat the algorithm by 7 points, 67 to 60, largely thanks to Anthony and Daka, who were my two differentials coming through and providing 14 points between them, which was very nice indeed. So I've got a few more differentials lined up this week as well. It's looking a bit more close and tight between the two sides. So let's get into it, shall we, and have a look at how the algorithm team is looking for Game Week 11. And in goal for the Algo this week is going to be Jose Sarr of Wolves, who look like a decent defence to target, and one of the teams with a clean sheet potential and odds that actually looks pretty decent this week of over 40%. So Jose Sarr up against Nottingham Forest, you'd have to back them as one of the most likely teams this week to grab a clean sheet, and of course that's what the algorithm is going off, predicting a clean sheet for Wolves against one of the worst attacks in the league in Forest, and one of the best defences at time Wolves have been, and they've looked very decent. And when they do keep clean sheets, Jose Sarr's normally a big part of that. He's good on save points as well. He's very strong in the bonus points department as well, which is always good to see and nice when you're looking for a keeper who grabs a clean sheet. If not much goes on in that game and we get a 0-0 in that fixture, you'd back Jose Sarr to be in the bonus points. And the same could be said for the best defensive option that's coming in, and that's Max Kilman of Wolves as well, who's another one who's very strong on those baseline bonus points. Out of the Wolves defenders, you'd have to say the best value, he looks great. He looks fantastic, nailed on for minutes, and again, with bonus points, the algorithm has gone with him at multiple times so far this season, and he has delivered for the algorithm when not a lot of people in FPL are going to be owning him. So he looks like a very nice option to have for this week. And actually they do have a fixture in Game Week 12 as well that's not too bad in Crystal Palace. So if you're looking to bring an option in, maybe even consider Max Kilman as an option or another Wolves defender that you're looking at. I know the fixtures long-term aren't looking the best out of any team, but we covered in the quick guide video yesterday how, from an attacking point of view, they're actually ranked the best over the next 4 fixtures, Wolves. So that is something to keep note of. Not so relevant for defenders and goalkeepers, I know, but definitely something it's worth keeping an eye on as we head closer and closer towards Game Week 16, where we'll get a full squad reset. And so perhaps now we can take a few punts on our team up until then. And sticking with the double-ups, the algorithm's gone with another one in defence, doubling up on the Spurs back line with Romero and Dyer, the 2 picks it's gone for. So 3 centre-halves as the 3 defensive options, really going for players who are nailed on for minutes, the algorithm team this week. And Romero and Dyer do look like 2 pretty decent options, and when we consider going for a Spurs defender at all, it's very, very risky to go with one of the wing-backs at the moment, given how much rotation there's been. At the time of recording, I've not actually seen who started for Spurs in the Champions League tonight. I'm assuming it's going to be Perisic and Emerson Royal, but that may well have changed. In recent weeks, we've seen Doherty now starting in Game Week 10 in the Premier League. They've got Sessegnon, of course, as well, so it's very difficult to predict who's going to be featuring and starting the matches for Spurs. So going for centre-backs doesn't look like too bad an option at all. And we've even seen Dyer grab a couple of goals so far this season, so don't write him off as an attacking threat at all. Romero, a little bit less in that department, but I think that's a decent pick to go for on a free hit as well. That Everton fixture at home looks like probably the second best opportunity behind only Wolves to grab a clean sheet for your teams this week. So it's a bold call going and doubling up on 2 teams, but it could well pay off and come in with a hefty points return with 24 plus points if both teams do keep a clean sheet in their respective fixtures. In midfield then for the algorithm, we're going to see a very strong midfield for. I really like the look of this midfield, doubling up on the Arsenal assets who came in very, very high on not only points returns but expected FPL points returns in Game Week 10 when Saka and Martinelli run riots against Liverpool in that fixture. And they're facing Leeds next, who are third bottom in when we look at expected clean sheets so far this season. So you'd back Arsenal to grab at least 1 goal against them, and you'd put money on Saka or Martinelli, if not both, being involved in a goal when it does hit the back of the Leeds net. Elsewhere in the midfield, we've got Wilfried Zaha, who's got a very nice fixture against Leeds. We've seen so far this season how poor they've been from a defensive point of view. Perhaps improving a little bit more in more of the recent game weeks, but overall, Zaha looks a very nice asset to target. Not been getting that many returns in recent weeks, so maybe going a little bit under the radar amongst the more casual players who just look at the total points and whatnot. So Zaha, still a very, very strong option, still a very good pick to be bringing into your FPL teams. And likewise with James Maddison, but I think that Zaha's probably got the edge over him just due to the fact that Maddison is now 1 yellow card away from a suspension. So he's on 4 yellows. He's got a few games until that gets reset, of course. But James Maddison, if he does pick up another booking, which he's picked up 4 of, then he'll be suspended for a fixture. And a lot of people, including myself, who have 3 players that will be blanking in game week 12, are going to be very hopeful that he doesn't pick up that yellow. But when we're looking at game week 11, just in isolation, that doesn't matter at all. The algorithm team's not considering that as a potential thing to happen, because if it doesn't matter, if Maddison gets booked this week, the algorithm can just change whatever, as this is a free hit team. And that Crystal Palace game doesn't look too bad at all. Maddison and Leicester have been scoring quite a lot of goals recently, and James Maddison, more often than not, is involved in those goals for Leicester. And then finally, up front, we're looking at a very, very bolstered front line. Gabriel Jesus has been declared fit, and he's raring to go. We covered these 3 as the captaincy options in the quick guide video yesterday, and all look like very good picks. And then Erling Haaland and Harry Kane, but the captain's armband has gone on Kane this week, and we saw how they're both predicted, Jesus and Kane, 5.9 points, whilst Haaland is down on 5.2 is what the algorithm's predicting. So the armband goes on Kane. Not quite sure how it's made the judgment going Kane over Jesus, but Jesus takes the vice-captain armband anyway. And that's how the algorithm team is lining up this week, which gives it 61 predicted points. On the bench this week, there are some funds left over. So Raya, Ward-Prowse, Aït-Nouri and Henry are the players that those funds have been spent on. But now we need to go and have a look at my team and how I'm lining up this week. And I've stuck with quite a similar lineup. I've kept the exact same midfield 3 that we talked about, just not gone with James Maddison. I fancied a little bit of a punt, and I know people might write off that Liverpool fixture as a tougher game for Manchester City. However, without Trent, without Matip on that right-hand side of the defence, and Phil Foden, who loves a good run at that Liverpool backline and has done very well against them in previous years, I quite like the look of going for Phil Foden in this game week, and I'm hopeful that going for a little bit of a tougher fixture on paper might well pay off and come through with another return. He's been in great form recently, so that's why I'm taking a little bit of a gamble and going for that. I've also stuck with the exact same front 3. I've just moved the captain's armband over to Erling Haaland, who it seems really tough to not captain at the moment given the form he's in. But I mentioned those absentees in the Liverpool backline, and I think it could be another showing from them. Was really poor at the back and could be an opportunity for Manchester City to go ham at Anfield and grab multiple goals. In defence is where the most changes have been. However, I've kept the Spurs double up, but I've just gone with Lloris in goal and gone with Dyer as the defensive option, who I mentioned I think has just got a little bit more attacking threat than going for Romero. I've also taken Kilman out and gone for a different Wolves defender. I didn't want to go for Aït-Nouri, who we saw on the algorithm bench, as I think he's a little bit more of a minutes risk than Johnny, who we have seen as a very good FPL option in the past and has a little bit more attacking threat going forward. And then finally, my most risky pick of the game week, given that he started in midweek, is going to be Ben Chilwell. I'm well aware that Cucurella could well start in that fixture against Aston Villa, so I've got cover just down there on the bench in Lewis Dunk if need be for him to come in for Brighton's game against Brentford. But I like him as an option. I know at the moment he's not really a sensible transfer for your FPL teams because we've got so many players who are going to blank next week, a lot of rotation concerns and other injury worries too, so I wouldn't recommend quite going with him. I think there are probably better and even cheaper defenders who look more nailed on and better options to bring into your team, such as Mark Gay. So that would be my suggestion if you're making a transfer this week and not on a free hit. But that's my little punt for this game week, going for a Chelsea defender. And of course we saw Reece James injured during midweek, leaving maybe a little bit of a better chance for Chilwell to grab some minutes. I know the left-hand side's not really relevant to what happens with James over on the right, but Chilwell is the one I'm going with. I would have probably gone with James if he hadn't got injured in midweek, but Chilwell is the one I'm going with for a little bit of a fun pick. So that's going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm for game week 11. Let me know who you think is going to win, as always, myself or the computer, down below in the comments. And congrats if you got it right last week and backed me to beat the algorithm. Daka and Anthony, special thanks going out to you. But I wish you the best of luck, all of you watching, for game week 11. And thank you very much once again for tuning in. I'll see you soon.